Hello, live English students. Welcome. My name is Athena and I will be your teacher for today. Today, we're going to discuss the word should. You know this word, you've heard it a lot, and Americans use it all the time. So we're going to talk about when to use it, and then we're going to talk about when not to use it, especially at work, working with your teams. Okay, so we know that it is a suggestion, or we use it when we give advice, and it can be seen as quite polite. So you should see Star Wars. It's a suggestion. Hey, I saw it. You should see it too. It's how I think things are, and I'm just giving you that advice. Or we're at a restaurant. You should try the pizza. It's a suggestion. It's not bossy at all. And when you use should this way, that's perfectly fine. But now I'm going to tell you when to be careful when you use should and what alternative words you can possibly use instead of should. Okay, so here are some things that you might say at work. For example, you should read these documents. When you're speaking to somebody who is superior to you in position at the company or someone who is older than you, you don't want to talk like this to them. Also, if they didn't ask your advice, then you really shouldn't say you should. When someone asks, what should I do with these? Then you might say, you should read these documents. Oh, you should read those. You should read those. That is different if someone asks you. But usually you're wanting to give suggestions. So instead of saying you should read these documents, you would say, could you read these documents if you have time? Or when you have time, please read these documents. Or would you please read these documents? Those are different ways to say that. Or, for example, you should finish these by tomorrow. If you want your colleagues to do something and you have a request of them, you want to soften the request, make it more polite, you would say, could you finish these by tomorrow? Could you please always put please in there and don't use should? Or I think you should finish these like you can soften it with I think you should finish these by tomorrow if possible. Or could you finish these by tomorrow, please? Is it possible to finish these by tomorrow? That is a soft way of saying you should finish these by tomorrow, but you want to make it very polite. The next example is, you should change these points here. It sounds kind of bossy. If they ask you, what do you think about my piece? What do you think about my speech? Do you have any advice? Then you would say, what about changing this part here? Or how about doing something like this? So you could change you should to what do you think about, or how about changing this part? So those are some ways to soften the word should. So to sum up quickly, should be used when you're offering suggestions in a casual atmosphere. But when you're at work and you're asking, for example, for advice on a project you just finished and you'd like some advice, you don't want somebody to sound bossy. So instead of saying you should change this, you would say, could you change this part? Or is it possible for you to make some changes here? Or do you think you could? You'll notice could or possible are very soft ways of expressing. Would you mind making that a little bit different in your project? Or what about this idea? You're offering up suggestions and you don't come across as bossy. That's all from me. Thank you very much. Goodbye.